Hey guys, Jason here from SMYD Accounting and Advisory. Now today I want to talk about something that I've implemented within my business as a means of managing my time. It has made such incredible changes to how I work and my productivity and efficiency that I just had to start sharing it with you guys today. Now before I take any credit for any of this, please note all of this was developed by Stephen Covey, and you can read about it in the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. So none of this is mine. However, I have implemented it in my business and I've seen significant positive changes as a result of it. So what is it? It's otherwise known as the Achiever Matrix. So the Achiever Matrix is where we can split our time up into 4 different quadrants, separated into urgent or not urgent, and important and not important. So quadrant 1 is the quadrant of urgency. So quadrant 1 is our something that is urgent and something that is important. It's a fire. It's a fire that we need to put out, and we need to put it out now. Doesn't matter what you're doing, where you are, you have got to sort that task out. It just cannot sit there because something bad's going to happen unless we do. Quadrant 2 is when something is important, but it's not urgent. Okay? Now this is the quadrant of quality. If you think about it, our business, no matter what we're doing, it always has all those tasks that are really, really important and we really should be doing them. Primarily they tend to resolve around our administration or our development or our own personal, professional development, but they're just not urgent. Okay? And so it's really hard to prioritize them because they're important, we know they are, but they're not urgent. So they always get overridden by anything that's urgent. Quadrant 3 is when a task is urgent, but it's not important. Think about that damn cell phone ringing. Now, any form of cell phone, it just has that feeling of urgency, doesn't it? But in many cases, it's potentially not important. Or that ding in our email inbox. It always just grabs our attention. It actually destroys our attention of what we're working on. You know, we might feel like it's urgent that we get rid of that email inbox, out of our inbox, but that email might not actually be important, and all of a sudden it's completely interrupted our flow of what we were doing. So quadrant 3 is about identifying, is something really that important or not? Because it's going to be urgent in the sense that we get the ring, we get the notification, we get that person asking us, oh hey, can I just grab you for a couple of minutes? Always feels urgent, but is it really that important? Quadrant 4 is the worst of all. Quadrant 4 is when something isn't urgent and it isn't important. And the first thing you've got to ask yourself is, if something's falling in quadrant 4, why the hell are we doing it in any way? To me, randomly scrolling through Facebook, randomly scrolling through Instagram, any form of time wasting, any of those habits that we've fallen into, unfortunately for me, in terms of like growing our business and achieving our goals, they kind of all fall into quadrant 4. Now that we've run through the 4 different quadrants, what's an easy way to determine if one of your habits falls within that quadrant? So, quadrant 1 is urgent and important. Do it now. Okay, the first one, do it now, you've got to get it done. Quadrant 2, it's not urgent, but super important. Diarize. Okay, now this could be going to the gym. It could be getting your healthy food ready. It could be that networking meeting that you never seem to go to. It could be setting out that administration task that you just never get round to. Okay, diarize it, put it in the diary. This is when you're going to do it. Quadrant 3, it's urgent but not important. Delegate. Okay. Now, it's urgent, but it's not important to us, so therefore, can we outsource it? Can we hire someone that can do it? If someone else can't do it, is there a habit 2 or a quadrant 2 task that we can do about training someone so they can take over it and we can delegate it to them? Okay, now if something is urgent, it's always pulling our time away, but it's just not important to what we're doing in our role in our business. We need to look at how we can delegate it. Okay, super important. Quadrant 4, not important, not urgent, ditch it completely, cut it, get rid of it. We should not be spending any of our time in quadrant 4. So what is the practical application of these quadrants that I've just run through? It's great to understand what each one is, and it really is quite insightful when you learn about them, spend a bit more time reading about it. But the practical implications are when you start actively and critically reviewing your time that you're spending each day doing each activity. How much time are you spending in quadrant 1? How much time are you spending in quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4? What I found when I did this activity is that 90% of my time felt like it was in quadrant 1. The reason 90% of the time I was in quadrant 1 is because I was only spending 5% of my time in quadrant 2. Now, the more time I started spending in quadrant 2, the more I was able to upskill and train my staff so that all those activities and those urgent and important stuff that kept consuming all my time then went down into quadrant 3 where I could delegate it out to someone else. And I freed up about 30% of my time. Okay, the only reason I was able to grow advisory services within my own business was because of the amount of time I was able to free up from quadrant 2 activities and ruthlessly ditching anything that was in quadrant 4. The other thing I did is I made an absolute set in stone time for mental health, in the sense of going to the gym, eating healthy food, and undertaking the activities that I love. They are in quadrant 2, they do not move, and by focusing on them, that ensures that other tasks don't fall off the back burner and then become urgent, big fires that I always have to be putting out. So a bit of a long, heavy one today, but incredibly important if you are finding that you feel like you're ineffective or you're inefficient or you're just not able to get enough hours out of each day. I encourage you, firstly, to read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Covey, life-changing. And number 2, if there's one thing to take out of it, is to get ruthless with your time and understand how much you're spending within each quadrant. Now, if you're aware that you need to change something and you've accepted it, that you need to make that change and you're going to take that action, but you need someone that's going to hold you to account on that action to ensure that you do actually start implementing these changes within your business, please make sure you get in touch with us at SMYD Accounting and Advisory. We'd love to be the ones that can help you make that change.